G'day everyone. Welcome to another Toon podcast. Off to a flyer. The Southern Hemisphere's original and best Newcastle United podcast. I am joined by Craig and Sonny Mackay. How are you, Craig? AKA Slim Craigie.
He's asleep.
You there, Craig? Take yourself off mute, mate. It sort of helps.
Oh yeah,
It helps with everyone watching.
You can tell it's been a week and a half since we last did one, can't you? completely gone to shit already.
Yeah. All right, Lee, I'll come to you, Lee, in soggy Brisbane. How are you, mate?
Yeah, it's been bloody boiling all week, mate. It's 35 on Friday or something, and then and yesterday it was really hot as well, and then today we had a bit of a downpour. It does happen over here in Queensland. Like, you have the hot weather, and then you get the nice relieving rainstorm and a bit of thunder and lightning and what have you. It's it's not like England where it pisses down every single day. Like, when you get rain over here, it's like, oh, thank Christ, there's a bit of rain to kind of relieve the temperatures a bit, But otherwise, I'm all right. It's been a while since I was last on, actually. I can say it's going well, as I said. It's going tremendous. I say I haven't missed much. I did knock out. I was saying to you before I came on here, I was getting ready to come on, and I battered over my beer, and I went all out with a desk and all of me Apple Watch and bloody charger and shit. So this place is going to smell like a pisshead's underpants by tomorrow. Have we got Craig back yet?
No, we haven't. You're on mute, Craig. Did you
oh God.
Was that a tactical spill? Because you're falling a bit behind, so you just
there's no such thing as a tactical spill, man. That's just wasting money. That's bullshit.
In inverted commas, and knocked it over.
No.
Sorry. Oopsie. No.
It was pure accident, man.
Yeah. Well, I can. What's the word? I can relate to your Brisbane experience. It used to, when we lived up there, bucketing down, and then like half an hour later, sunshine out, everything's dry, and you'd swear nothing had even happened if you hadn't seen it.
Does that happen down there in Geelong though? Because it's usually bloody freezing down there, isn't it?
No. It does happen. It sort of rains and stuff, and then the sun comes out like 2 or 3 weeks later. So it's it's really good.
Just in time to get rid of the black mold. Craig, are you going to sort your mic up, man? Rico's already in there with the early stabs.
Yeah.
Here, man, what a numbty. We're not mime artists. Yeah. I can't understand a word you're saying.
Yeah. Put your hands up in front of your face.
Lip readers. Is he wearing lipstick again?
We can say what we like now because he's not going to.
How about
no comeback.
Hey!
Here we go.
Hey!
Oh, it's better on mute.
The joys of live TV, streaming, whatever you want to call it. But we are back as a threesome.
Giggity.
Now, Craig, how are you in Mackay now that you've actually put yourself off unmute?
I'm good, mate. It's been a bit of a long day, bit of a weird weekend. Weather's been a bit strange, pissing down 1 minute, hot the next, and generally a bit shattered. But such is life. But looking forward to this one. Should be a good one.
Should be. Are you just going to keep that haircut forever now?
It was meant to come off through the week if I had any time to get it done, but I just didn't. So I'll keep it for as long as I can be bothered to keep it going. But then I go into a barber's and I'll just get it all shaved off, and I'm back to the barber shop boiled egg joke that we done way back probably a year ago now. If anyone that was watching back then.
And I've just started this job, but you've been off more times than you've been actually in the place since you started. Man, so plenty of time to do it. Plenty of time. Closet Slim Shady.
Yeah, no, I definitely think you should go back to the barber, mate, to get it redone, not to get it shaved off. Anyway, we'll move along. We'll go to the We'll start off with a few couple of Newcastle tidbits, I guess, just to tick off. Then we'll speak a bit about the World Cup, and then we'll open the floor up. We've got a few questions that have been submitted from some of our viewers on Twitter and some members on YouTube and stuff as well. So we'll get through them and we'll answer them as best we can. But probably the main thing that's happened, sort of broke overnight, or last night our time, was good friend of the pod, Fabrizio Romano's broken the news that Paul Midgley will be joining the club as basically the head of youth recruitment. Paul had joined Man City just in the summer, actually, from Leeds, where he was sort of working as a national academy manager. Basically, he was basically working from kids from 12 to 16, and he moved to Man City in the summer to sort of be a regional scout for the North, I guess, for Man City. But he's been poached from Man City to Newcastle, and he'll head up the development. What did you think of that, Craig, when you first heard the news?
It's just getting everything else in line, isn't it? It's just more ducks in a row type thing. And that back room now is going to be absolutely chock full of people that we didn't even know existed this time 12 months ago. Our backroom staff consisted of pretty much Steve Bruce and every other Steve that worked in football. That is pretty much about the size of it. We had no youth academy in terms of scouting development, not that I'm aware of anyway. It's another step forward. It's another step in the right direction, and it can only be a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was interesting. You had to, when you put your resume in, if it didn't start with Steve, you weren't getting a job here. So it's good they've branched out the names to other people. Lee, what did you make of it when you sort of first heard about it as well?
Yeah, it just came out of the blue, didn't it? There's a lot of this business going on behind the doors, behind closed doors that we and most other people won't be even slightly aware of. There's very little that gets leaked out of this club these days, which is the way it should be anyway. So you get these announcements coming out of the blue, and you kind of we're all involved and absorbed by the World Cup, but the business is going on. It's still going on behind the scenes. There's still things happening for Newcastle. It's not all about the World Cup for Amanda and the team back there in the town. I don't know anything about the bloke, to be honest with you. It's interesting that you say that he's just signed from City when he's only been there for a short while, because that's not the first time there's been a guy who's moved to a particular job and then we've came in and took them straight out of that job into Newcastle's world. There was the last guy, I can't remember if it was, he was either F1 or something. Was it Steve Nixon or I don't know? Christ, I'm useless with names, as everyone knows. But there was a fella that
say Steve.
I'm not even sure. I mean, probably Steve, like all the other Steves. I'm not sure whether that was him or some other fella, but there was definitely a bloke who had just started a job in another sporting industry, and we rocked up and went, "Yeah, all right, fancy a job in Newcastle?" And they were like, "Yeah, no bother." And we were like, "There you go, there's tons of cash, probably." And they were like, "Champion." And then next thing you know, it's getting announced, and that's the first thing you hear about it. It's brilliant. Love it.
Yeah, it was the same. The same as I think Dan Ashworth wasn't quite. That sort of got broken a bit before it happened, but
no, we knew that
it was more because it couldn't happen. Yeah, it couldn't happen because of his contract and the gardening leave and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's a great signing. It's not, and the beauty of it is we aren't actually tipping people out of a job. These are positions that have never been filled, so they're all open roles and like that. There's actually, we've said this, I can't remember how many times we've said this over the last 12 months, but it's actually a football club acting like a football club, which is something like we aren't used to and haven't been used to for the last 14 years. So it's great to see. And I think, I think even before the takeover happened, when it was meant to happen, but it didn't actually happen, I remember reading and sort of listening to a few things, and a lot of the comments were about the youth and the academy and actually putting some time and money and effort into the academy, because I mean, the resources that we should have had weren't existent, but the catchment area can be so big. Like there's so many talented kids that could be in and around sort of Newcastle, even to the sort of south of Scotland as well, that we can tap into and get a hold of. We never had anything in place to actually try and get them. And you'd always read reports of the bigger clubs sniffing around sort of the good Geordie youngsters and picking them off. So it's actually going to be really, really good. I think now we can we can try and catch them all and keep them in the area and start sort of developing, which is something we haven't done.
That's the idea. That's the idea. I mean, there's been plenty of occasions back in the past there where some of our talents were let go, either well before they kind of got to the point where they were looking good, or shortly after they joined the club, and we just kind of released them. Maybe someone came in with £1 million and we're like, yeah, fair enough, we'll have that money. But those days are long gone behind us now. And with these kind of signings, hopefully it means our youth teams improve a lot. I mean, the under 21s aren't doing great. I'm not even sure what the under 18s are doing. Under 23s are probably the same as well. So you need to have the people in place, the professionals in place, to really make these things as good as they possibly can be. And as you say, Keegs, we've been treading water, man, we've been bloody drowning. Never mind treading water. We've been drowning for far too long under the fucker who was here beforehand. And it's
I don't think we weren't even in the border.
We're basically just catching up at the minute, man. Like we're not anywhere yet. We are just simply trying to catch up with where we should have been probably 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's an absolute bloody mess what was left for us here. So good on the owners for sticking to the game plan to improve the club from the inside out, from bottom to top. It can only be a good thing, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I remember I think just after the takeover, Alan Shearer had mentioned like the frugal nature of a previous owner not wanting to spend any money. And the most obvious thing was spend it in the academy, and then you don't have to spend money on buying players actually. And that's how you save your money. It was that obvious.
Well, he's meant to be a bloody business genius, man. He was tighter than a duck's arse. He didn't have a clue what he was doing. He had Penfold in charge. He was also clueless. You had the wrong people in the wrong positions, making all the wrong decisions. And, it was just a freaking, bloody bonfire at the end of the day, man. It was just a fucking mess. It was ridiculous. Yeah. For such a astute businessman, he had absolutely no idea how to develop the business of Newcastle United.
And you've just got to look at Lee Clarkson for that.
And
You've got to imagine that Lee Clarkson is a massive Newcastle fan, just purely off association. Then he goes to Liverpool's academy.
Mm-hmm. And he'll probably be a star as well, because their academy is great. If you had if you had came to our academy, he probably would have turned to dog shit in about 5 minutes anyway. But in a year's time, that'll be completely different. And you can imagine Lee Clark would be thinking, "Fuck, I would rather have been at Newcastle." He's a Geordie, obviously, through and through. But if someone like Liverpool comes along and says, they're a bunch of knackers, these lot, man, we'll give you a proper education. As a professional, ex-professional himself, he's not going to say to his Ben, no, hang around in case fuckwits United over here decide to get the shit together and give you like a piss poor contract and destroy your prospects. Nobody's going to do that.
Just like Rico said, Lewis Gibson, who's at Everton now, he was another one. We actually went to a tribunal with him to get some compensation back, I think. He's another one.
Ridiculous, man. Absolutely. These situations should never happen. Honestly, they should never happen. And hopefully going forward, they're not going to happen. I mean, as much. They're bound to happen at some point or other. At some point, they'll be like, we'll have too many people and we'll kind of bring them in, or you'll have some fucking dick in charge and he's making the wrong decisions and you have to get him out. It's going to happen because that's just the way the world works. But in the meantime, hopefully we'll be able to hoover up, as you say, Keegs. The catchment area is massive, man. And I was reading on the Macam forum a few weeks ago, because I like a bit of a laugh, and it's always funny to read some of the comments on the forum. I mean, anybody who watches these shows knows that I always kind of like do a little spy on the other people's forums just to kind of get an idea as to what others are saying about us, and particularly after we've won, which is hilarious. But there was a few people saying, like, people that they know, Macams that they know, are starting to support Newcastle. And that's the point. When you start having success in an area like the Northeast, where there's only two real main competitors, if you ignore Middlesbrough, who are North Yorkshire anyway, you ignore them, you've got Newcastle, you've got the Macams, and that's it really for a large swathe of that land. In that catchment area, once you're successful, then Newcastle are bound to be, and already are starting to look like they're going to be, you start hoovering up into areas that you really have no right to. So we're only going to get bigger and we're only going to get better, and that's where the talent's going to come from. You're going to get Macams, young Macams, who are saying, like, I'll play for the Black and Whites. Bloody right, I will. They're a fantastic club. They've just won the Premier League. Why wouldn't they?
For the fourth time.
For the fourth time.
In a row. I'd imagine that sort of apart from the last 12 months, but before that, you'd have like you guys you would have seen it yourself. Like there'd be that many kids walking around sort of the northeast in Liverpool shirts and Man City shirts and Barcelona shirts, Real Madrid shirts, and all this sort of stuff because there was nothing like shit. There was nothing to engage the kids and actually make them want to support the club. Now we're good, and all these kids are going to be. And I think from what I hear and what sort of my family as well, all these kids are back wearing Newcastle shirts, and people have never seen so many kids wearing Newcastle gear as what they are now. So if they get involved in the game again, and they're that little 8-year-old Geordie kid who wants to play at St James's Park, like there's going to be that many more kids who are playing, and then the more kids you've got in the area, then the more chances you've got to get good ones, and the flow-on effect. Like we're third, just in case anyone's forgot, but we're third in the Premier League. But the knock-on effect is all the way down to little Jimmy, who's 6 years old, who runs around in his Bruno shirt, pretending to be Bruno in the backyard or in the park in the street that wasn't going to be playing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's all this stuff that can only be positive. Absolutely. And now we've actually got this stuff in place. Like, it's only going to be better and better and better.
Exactly right. And this is, Rico was sort of saying there in the comments there that you used to hear a lot of kids going off to the Mackinnon Academy because they had a good academy. Ours was absolute turd. Like, it was like one of those white turds that you get out of those weird dogs. You go, there you go. That's either turd or Newcastle United's training facilities. And as a fan of the podcast, Mark says, we need to improve those facilities. And obviously, we're already making strides in that area, huge strides. There's lots of conversations and talk about them looking for areas to build brand new training centres. Land's obviously at a premium around the centre of Newcastle, but you build world-class facilities, you'll get world-class talent eventually, sooner or later. Obviously, as long as you've got the world-class talent to train them in the first place, and this new appointment is a step in that direction. Brilliant, man. Honestly, it's like a year and a half ago, this would be, you dreamland. You just couldn't. When that season ended last season, it was shit, and not last season, but the season before, and you just couldn't imagine it being the way so well run, seemingly from the outside looking in, as we are right now. It's just fantastic, and I don't know about anybody else, but I just cannot wait to see where this takes us. I really can't. For once, I'm really, really, really excited about what's in store for Newcastle.
That'll be fun.
I don't know about you, Craig, but I've had that. Yeah, go on.
Nah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to be glad to be part of the journey. And we were there from the very beginning right up to how it goes right at the end. And it's going to be exciting. It'll have its ups and downs like every other journey has, but I guarantee you there'll be more ups and downs compared to the previous 14 years, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was worried, 3 years ago, I didn't know where this journey was going to take us, but I knew it wasn't going to be a good one. Now I've got the same feeling. I don't know where it's going to take us, but it's a good feeling, not a shit one. So yeah, hopefully, they're all just setting all their ducks up now. And just like I said earlier, a Premier League club actually acting like a Premier League club is really, really nice to see. All right, we'll move on to the World Cup just to touch on a few of the Newcastle involvements, I guess, in the World Cup. We'll start off with England. Yeah, England. I think their first game was a 6-2 win over the mighty Iran. Our stand-in matchday captain played the full 90 minutes. Our super striker come on for the last probably 15 and set up. Was it Grealish for the last goal? I think it was.
Yeah, the turn court.
Yeah. which was interesting because I don't think he would have done that if he had a black and white shirt on. But anyway, good on him. He's got involved in the game. And then, I think a couple of days ago they played the mighty USA and Kieran played the full 90 minutes. Wilson wasn't involved either, which probably would have made you really happy, Lee.
Yep, absolutely. Keep it up.
Yeah. I don't think Nick Pope's just going to be there to work on his tan, I reckon. So that's another positive for us.
He's going to be darker than
team morale.
He's going to be dark. It's going to be darker than Tyndall by the time he gets back. Yeah,
the Mad Dog. They're going to have a Mad Dog off when he gets back. Or if he goes straight to Saudi as well.
God, like that Spider-Man meme with it, just like
pointing at each other. So that was, I think that's all the sort of England involvement. Craig, did you watch the England games?
I watched the majority of. I didn't see Wilson's setup, unfortunately, but I did see it on a replay. And just like what Al Sable was saying there, most of the talk was from the assist rather than the goal, which is good to see. Again, because Wilson, although I do want to see Newcastle players getting represented on the biggest stage in world football, I'm also in the same boat as Lee here. I don't want to see them being overplayed, getting injured. As there was that rumour that came out on the BBC that both Harry Kane and Wilson were a doubt for the USA game. Thankfully, they were both good to go. And Wilson is apparently suffering from the same thing that Miggy has right now, which is muscle fatigue. So just literally send him home, put him on the plane, we'll put him in cotton wool, and we'll get him ready for the game against Bournemouth in the League Cup, because I do not want to see him miss any long time of matches. He's already missed too much for us.
Yeah.
The good thing about Wilson though is that we should have big dog Isaac coming back. The talk's always been that he's going to come back. Yeah, just after the World Cup. So I don't know if we ever. I'm starting to think it's a Superman situation where they don't actually exist in the same place at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, 1 minute is Wilson, the next minute it's Isaac, and then swap over, and the two together will never be seen.
Which one's Clark Kent now?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Let me think. Who's Clark Kent? Don't know. It's a tricky one, that, isn't it? But if you're going to have Wilson out, then you have to have Isaac back. Otherwise, we are utterly boned up front. Yeah. Absolutely boned. I don't think anybody wants to start with Chris Wood, and as good as he's been, his role isn't to be that kind of lead striker. But coming back to the England game, Trippier in that first game against Iran, I thought he was absolutely terrific. He looked like he was playing out of his skin, and not just the playing of it, but the team management side of it as well. Like he was essentially the captain of that team for large parts of what I saw of that game. He was dictating, he was telling people where to stand, where to go, when to come, when to go, and he was just absolutely brilliant. Overlapping a lot, he did a few passes forward that didn't quite come off, and I suspect that's got a lot to do with the fact that he's so used to having little whippet Miggy up front in front of him, able to latch on to the end of those balls, and he hasn't trained that long with England team, so he had to readjust a little bit maybe. I didn't see a lot of the USA game, unfortunately, but I have heard that his defensive abilities weren't that great in that game. And that's one of the things about Trippier. He's more of a, for me, he's more of a wing back than a fullback, isn't he? He spends most of his time up the pitch, and when you get caught out of position, he's left to sort of chase the ball down, and sometimes he does great, and sometimes he needs the likes of Botman to come across or Burn even to help out at the back, because he does have that tendency to just fly up forward. But I think at least for the Iran game, he was, and it was only Iran, but they beat Wales, so But at least for that game, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I really do. And Wilson, it's funny. The talk was, I heard people complaining that he wasn't selfish enough to take on that shot. What do you reckon of that then? Because I can understand the point of view. You always expect your strikers to be selfish, to take a shot whenever they get within a sniff of goal. But he made a goal there. He made it 6-2. He made it a lot more noteworthy as far as the headline's concerned. Played his part. Got an assist, obviously. I think that I don't have any problem with that. But why? What do you guys reckon? Like, do you think he should have been more selfish and just lashed at it and potentially missed, and everyone would be like, oh well, fair enough, 5-2, whatever.
Well, I remember there was an interview
No.
with Teddy Sheringham ages and ages ago. I remember the fourth goal in Euro 96 against Holland, where Sheringham cut across for Shearer and he whacked it into the top corner.
This has been gnawing at you all your life, hasn't it? This has been just in the back of your head.
The ball goes to Sheringham.
I know, I can bring this up now.
He's pretty much he's through on goal. He's just got to take a shot, but he's in the back of his mind. He couldn't see himself scoring, so unselfishly he squares it to Shearer, and Shearer finishes it. And to me, that's just clever thinking. If you are not 100% sure you can put the ball in the back of the net, and you've got somebody else with a better opportunity, you give it to them all day long. A, it shows you're a team player, and B, you've got a forward-thinking brain, which is always switched on, one step ahead of everybody else. And I'm all for that, to be honest.
I was even reading the headlines afterwards where they were saying Kane was too selfish. I was like, fucking hell, what do you want? Like, do you want people to be selfish, not selfish? There's no middle ground, is there? Like part selfish, part not selfish. I'll take one shot and I'll give, like one for the cooking and one for the chef and one for the food. Whatever. I don't know. Weird. Yeah. What do you reckon, Keegs?
No, I think it's great. Like if you've got players in that team buying into a team goal rather than an individual goal, then I think, well, you're halfway there already. If you've got players buying into what the team want to do and rather than selfishly what they want to do for themselves, I think you're more than halfway there. If you can get everyone on the same page for the greater good, and not just in this game, like in any sport or work or whatever it is, if you can get everyone sort of working together the common goal rather than an individual goal, then you'll succeed a lot more than a selfish sort of individual player would, I reckon. And I reckon in a place, especially like what we've got now at Newcastle, they'd be weeded out pretty quickly. And I don't even think if they're looking to buy him, I don't even think they'd look at buying a player like that now.
I was just about to say, do you think his lack of selfishness was a consequence of how Newcastle are training with the team ethic, the photographs after each game? There's a huge camaraderie that all the players are talking about. They're all having the time of their lives by and large. Do you think that's part and parcel of how that training's gone? That he's like thinking, I'm doing it for the team here rather than I'm just going to strike a goal and look for the headlines myself.
Yeah, and I reckon if you're Gareth Southgate, I think he'd look more favourably on Callum Wilson for his team play rather than
I think so,
him trying to take it all for himself. So it's only gonna benefit him. Hopefully for him, but not for you later on in the tournament where he might get that opportunity because he's showing that he can, be a team player and stuff like that. So, and that's actually we had our own big Garansky come on for a little 15-minute cameo against the world champions. For those of you who have been living under a rock, the mighty Socceroos scored first against France. A great goal by the local guy, Craig Goodwin from Adelaide United or Inbred United, whatever one you want to call them. But he he took it well, and we thought it's coming home. I called it's coming, but I thought it's just the Socceroos fell asleep 4 times and unfortunately let him back in. But he took the shackles off and give Garang Kual his first World Cup minutes. I think he was the second youngest player or maybe not. No, he was definitely in the top 10 of youngest players in World Cup history to make the ninth. It was, to make the pitch. Maybe it was the second youngest Australian. It might have been, but anyway, it was great to see him on. You watched that, didn't you, Lee?
No.
Did you watch the end of that game?
I caught the part when he came on.
Australian France game. Yeah.
I caught part of it towards the end. Yeah, I didn't see the first goal or anything. It was a 5 o'clock kickoff, wasn't it? Was it one of the early kickoffs?
6 o'clock for normal people, but 5 o'clock for you.
Noncy time like you, 5 o'clock for normal people like us. There's no way I'm getting up at 5 o'clock, mate. Stuff that. That's why I didn't watch the USA England game either, because I was like, I'm not getting up at 5 o'clock, man. Fuck off. But I did see the second half, and the thing about it is, though, the Kual didn't come on until about the last 15 minutes plus, 45 minutes extra time or whatever it was.
So he played the third half.
Yeah, exactly. And he didn't have a lot in that game to do. He didn't receive the ball very much. But what was interesting was that he was actually making a lot of really clever runs, and he was finding himself in some really nice pockets of space. But he was being largely ignored. Now I don't know if that's because the route for the pass was being blocked. I mean, France world champions, they're no mugs, and maybe it's a lack of skill in the Socceroos. It just didn't think they could make that pass because the A-League's a load of shit. I don't know what it was, but he himself was finding himself in some really, really clever positions, and it would have been nice to have seen him receive the ball in those areas and see what he could do with his pace and his finish, because we've seen those YouTube clips where he's lightning fast and he's got a hell of a finish on him when he's in the right positions. And it's a shame he didn't get on against who did you just beat the other day?
Tunisia.
Tunisia, but we would have beaten anyone, so it didn't matter. We would have beaten anyone.
The Giants, Tunisia. Yeah, actually, I thought Goodwin played a really good game in that one. He was all over the place.
He was really good.
But unfortunately, Grant didn't get on, and it's a shame because I think you and I, Craig, were saying in our chat, weren't we, that the game was it was 1-0, but it was sort of slightly tightly poised. You could sort of see it. It was back and forwards. It was very open. Lots of space down the wings, and I was in whether or not it would have been a right decision to make as a manager. Craig and I were sort of making the argument that it would have been a perfect opportunity to bring in someone like Qual, who likes to run down the channels and cut in behind the defense. Unfortunately, he didn't get on the pitch, so we'll never know what he might have done. But hopefully, Australia do you need to win the next one, maybe, or do you have to just draw the next one?
I think it depends. If France can take care of, like you said, the might of Tunisia, I think if we draw with Denmark, we'll go through, which will be
it's gonna be a tough
ridiculous.
game. Denmark on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Opposition. Yeah.
Well,
you never know. I mean,
if we can beat Tunisia, we can beat anyone, can't we?
Well, absolutely. And it sort of depends on how you look at it. You could argue that if it's going to be Australia's last game, Arnie might just say, well, I'll chuck on Qual and I'll give him that little bit of experience before we go home, Whereas if you progress to the knockout stages, he might be more inclined not to play him because he's now thinking about just getting a win. And Qual's 18. Like, he's young lad. He hasn't started a game for the Mariners as far as I'm aware.
No, he's never started a professional game.
Right. So he always comes on as a sub, but he's only young. And, you're asking a lot of someone like that with very limited experience to come on to the biggest stage in world football and try and make an impact. But like I say, if Australia are already looking down the barrel of the gun, Denmark maybe have pistol over you, why not bring him on? Give him that little bit of experience because next World Cup he'll be there and he probably will be starting. So you want him to have that experience.
Yeah, I think he'd be one of the main players definitely at the next World Cup.
Oh, mate, if it goes as if it goes as well as we hope at Newcastle, man, he's going to be absolutely belting them in. And he'll be first name on the bloody list. Honestly, if it goes the way we hope it does.
Yeah, Craig, you were sort of, I wouldn't say clamoring, but you were suggesting if you had the manager's tracksuit on, I'm assuming you'd be a tracksuit sort of wearing, not a suit and tie kind of guy.
Yeah, I look like a fat penguin now, or a tuxedo, to be honest.
He might be if it's in Qatar, you might just be a polo shirt and trackies kind of manager. You were sort of you were calling for him to come on.
I was, like Lee said, the game was open and it just needed that little bit of spark, a little bit of brilliance, which we know he can produce. And there was half an hour to go, perfect timing, give him a few more minutes under his belt. And there wasn't many other people on that bench. I know Dimmy was raging when that other fella came on. I can't remember his name.
I'll get to him in a minute.
He started calling all his names under the sun and everything like that. And I'm thinking, why is he bringing this player on who looks like he's running in concrete whilst wearing lead wellies when you've got Qual on the bench who he's got that burst of acceleration which he can beat any man over the first 10, 15 yards. And then he got his dribbling skills to take past everyone else. Why not bring him on? He's young, he's fresh, he's got the energy. and he's also got the hunger, like we've seen when he's played for the Mariners. And I didn't see anybody else, or there was nobody else with any notable talent on that bench compared to him. So I would have brought him on, and I still would even suggest start him against Denmark because he's unknown, he's unpredictable, and that's what footballers hate, especially defenders, and the unpredictable and the unknown.
Yeah, I agree.
Just for the record,
Craig, so...
just for the record, I wouldn't have brought him on with half an hour to go. Like I would have brought him on with 15 to 20 tops.
No,
15 probably.
No. Yeah. Right. So, yeah, Craig, you're right. Like the unpredictability and stuff for opposition's really, really hard. But unfortunately, it is for coaches as well. So I don't think he will start because of that reason. But the player, Ian, I was to an extent as well, was a William Abil who come on as that sort of replacement winger with probably 10 minutes to go. And Craig did mention it at the time, and I was sort of against bringing him on purely because I think we needed more of a more of a steady, reliable player on the wing, trying to just do the basics well and save the game. Yeah. Very similar to Maxi not coming on that last game against Chelsea when people thought he should have come on. It was the same sort of reasoning why I didn't think Garang should come on there. But then he brought on Mobile, and he's got the touch of a baby elephant in work boots. And I'm like, well, if he's going to bring him on, then he may as well. Like he may as well have brought.
He was awful.
He was stinking, and he kept drifting inside, and then his man would overlap, like the winger would overlap and create an overload on that side, and it was doing my head in. But fortunately, the mighty Socceroos held firm and took the 3 points, put them in the back pocket, and I was going to say bring him back to Australia, but they just took him back to the hotel and put him in the safe, and that was it. So yeah, that was pretty much it. We've had, I think Bruno was an unused sub for Brazil's first game as well, which raised a few eyebrows that he definitely didn't get on. But once again, I think I'm with you, Lee. I'd rather him not play at all than after seeing what happened with Neymar and
it's frustrating, though, isn't it?
As well.
It's frustrating, because you see him bringing on people like Fred, and to a lesser extent, I suppose, starting people like Paqueta, and you watch them and they don't do anything. They do nothing. And as much as I don't want our lads to play, because I want them all to be wrapped in cotton wool and sort of protected, because we're on such a flying run here, as much as that's the case, like you watch this turd coming on from the sidelines and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, man, you've got Bruno sitting there who could, destroy this midfield and really kind of turn it around for Brazil a little bit here. And he brings on people like Fred, who was absolutely sackless. But like I said, at the same time, I'd rather Bruno doesn't play at all. So, there's that.
Yeah. So we had that. And then we had Fabian Schär was also an unused sub for Switzerland's 1-0 win against Cameroon, I think it was a couple of days ago. So,
quick question, lads. So in that game with Switzerland versus Cameroon, the bloke who scored the winning goal was born in Cameroon, but chose to represent Switzerland. What's your opinion on players celebrating against former clubs or other countries they could have represented? Do you think it's wrong and a sign of disrespect? Or do you think it's a case of you just scored a goal, go batshit crazy regardless of who it's against?
Fucking celebrate it, man. Christ almighty. There's enough of this joy being taken out of the fucking game as it is. VAR is responsible for a lot of that as well right now. And what they've done with this added extra time stuff at the end is boiling me bloody piss as well. Like, just if you score a goal, I mean, all right, look, if you're Alan Shearer and Newcastle have, because it's Souness has decided to get rid of you, and it was bloody close to happening as well. And then you go and play for another team, and in your next game or next few games, you're against Newcastle at St. James's Park. It'll be bloody killing them to celebrate that, and you probably wouldn't celebrate because you're so fucking annoyed and pissed off, right? That's one thing. But like in general, fuck it. Just celebrate the damn thing. Enjoy the bloody moment. Those moments are few and far between for footballers. Enjoy them, for Christ's sake. We're enjoying it. You enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're always celebrated when you scored against Southampton and Blackburn. So, I'm all for it, me. I really am.
Yeah. And you can't please everybody all the time, man. You can't. There's too many dickheads out there. It doesn't matter what you do, they'll complain one way or another. So you cannot win. So you might as well do whatever you think is best for yourself.
So I think I reckon if it's horses for courses. So if you've had a long affiliation with the club. Like if it was a Shearer who'd left us at the end of his career and went somewhere else and scored against us, I think deep down you still love the club because you've spent a lot of time there and you sort of want to show respect to the supporters and stuff like that. But if you've been there for this is like less than 10 years and you don't like you're only there for maybe 3 or 4 years and you've gone somewhere else and whatever, like I'd be going full out of by all, like length of the pitch in front of the opposition, like giving big ones. Like, who cares? Like,
yeah, that's what it's about, though, isn't it? That's the whole bloody point of the game is to score goals, celebrate. You know, part of it's to rile up the opposition fans. I mean, of course it is. Fucking enjoy it, man. Christ's sake.
But at the same time, you get your own fans up and about, and you get your teammates up and about as well. Like, I understand Balotelli's thing with not celebrating because that's what he's paid to do, but that was him everywhere. Like he never did it because he played against an opposition team. He just thought, well, I think he said the postman doesn't celebrate putting a letter in the letterbox because that's his job. So why would I celebrate scoring a goal because that's what I'm paid to do? So I think if you haven't got a strong affiliation or long ties to a club, it's no different to any other team. Like, go for it. Go your hardest. Yeah. That's what I reckon anyway.
Do we reckon Fab Shaw's going to get game time in this one then? Who's playing in front of him right now?
I had a look at their team. They've got about 15 Fabians, so I'm not sure if it's in alphabetical order or how they go about doing their team lineups. But yeah, I'm more than happy for him not to go. And then I hope everyone except for Bruno gets knocked out in the group stages. They get a week off or so, and then they all go to Saudi together. And even if like Shah might want to go straight from Qatar to Saudi, he can organise a hotel, the extracurricular activities while he's there, waiting for everyone to come over, and then just be like the team organiser. So not playing, don't get hurt, organise the go-karts and the camel riding in the desert and make everyone be happy. That's what I hope happens. But I hope I hope financially that Bruno or France win. So yeah, anyway, we'll move on. We've got some Craig's puts it. Well, it's just for money, mate. It's for any
French in the arse, man.
Little kicker before Christmas would be real nice. But anyway, back to we've got some questions that we've asked our members and listeners and Twitter followers if they've got anything they want sort of answered and stuff like that. Send your questions through. So we've got a couple here. These will start off with our members. Also, thanks to anyone who's signed up. And if you haven't and you'd like to sign up, it's I think 85 pence a month or $1.49 in Australia to join up as a member, and you'll get priority access for all your questions. And we are working on a shop, so you get special.
I'll get there eventually.
Special things. You'll get some special treats in the shop as well once we launch that. So it is.
Check with them cups.
It is. Yeah, if you like coffee, that's a liter. Craig's got really big hands. That's a really big mug. So yeah, if you like a big liter of coffee, you can get one of them. But we'll start off with Ian Eckert. He wants to know how many Newcastle brand owners have you got through in one beer drinking session? Lee, you're drinking at the moment, so we'll let you fire off your answer first.
Yeah, I've actually just ordered a crate for Christmas as well. I think my record's not great with brown ales because they sort of send you a bit wobbly. Like, I think I've probably smashed about 6. That's it. Probably smashed about 6, and then it started to go a bit sideways, and it gives you a starting headache as well. So I think I was at one point when I was like, you know that thing you can do where you can somehow you can kind of open your throat a bit and you can just like let the booze go straight down. Not with the straws. Everyone does it with the straws, like, but I was dealing with the bottle. I was just like, and it was just going all the way down into my throat and straight in
like a straw, straw pedos. Yeah,
I did that a few times in one sitting, and God, I just felt like one of those like kegs of beer just sloshing around in my belly, like it was and it honestly, it just I I just started again sideways that night. So I don't think I've ever done more than 6 bottles of the 500ml ones, the proper big size ones.
Jesus.
These ones I've done from Dan Murphy's, they're only 330ml, which is a piss take. But yeah,
Craig, what about
6.
you?
No more than 2, to be
you?
honest. I'm not actually a big fan of brown ale.
You're not a big fan of beer, mate. You drink pop. What are you on about?
I didn't drink pop, but I do drink pop, but I didn't drink a lot of pop. But
hang on, that pop soft drink for all the Australian people.
But it's,
huh?
I don't know. It's just too heavy. It just sits there all neat, and you're walking around like you've just swallowed liquid lead or whatever, you know. And plus, like it does send you mad. And I'd rather not wake up outside a pub in a pool of neon juices, or I've had 7 shades of shit kicked out of it because I've tried to take on the biggest bloke in the pub. Madman's drink. That's what my father told us, and I've kind of stuck by that philosophy. You know, I'm only 5'2". I can't stand up to anyone. So brown ale, maybe 1 or 2, but no more than that.
Just means you're close to the ground, mate. That's all that is.
I'm a shit. I've only had a couple of mouthfuls, and it wasn't for me. So when I've been over there, I've had a couple of mouthfuls, and I didn't like it. So I just stuck to the Carling. I stuck to the Carling Fosters when I was over there, and I think it was
fucking hell.
Once I had to feel sort of I've never drank a Foster's here, and I drink them in another country. It's ridiculous.
You live in Melbourne, I know, where they make the damn stuff.
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to
outrageous.
Milk.
You need to do better than that, Keegs.
Milk Thompson.
That's shocking. Not having that. No, not having it.
Oh, no,
you have to do better than that.
I'm comfortable.
You have to download a bottle for Christmas for Santa.
Oh, I've been on the naughty list. I'm not getting anything for Christmas off Santa.
It's only 1 bottle, man. Anyway, come on, move on.
All right, we'll move on to Milk Thompson. He wants to know, if we beat Arsenal after the new year, would you consider us to be title contenders, Craig?
That is a very tough question. Obviously, we've got some league games before the Arsenal game. We play, I think it's Leeds, then Leicester before we play Arsenal. And it's Leeds at home, Leicester away. And
is it Leicester first or is it Leeds first?
I think it's Leicester first, isn't
it? Whichever way.
It's
Leeds on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I think it is for us.
Yeah, I reckon it's Bournemouth, Leicester, Leeds, I think is the 3 games.
But Arsenal, they've also got West Ham at home and Brighton away before the playoffs. So they don't have an easy run either as well. And there might be some tired legs from Qatar. I know they've got a few players over there. But if we do beat them, I don't think it'll put us as title contenders. But what it will do is throw the cat amongst the pigeons even more, because we would have disrupted the status quo of the Premier League even more, because it's more points taken off those in the Big Six. We've only lost against one team in the Big Six, and we all know what happened at Anfield with that fucking stupid VAR decision for Big Dog and the added on time as well. But yeah, I don't think it'll make with title contenders, but it will stir the shit pot even further and make a lot more people in those other 6 teams very anxious, that's for sure.
Well, I think it'll make us contenders. I think it'll have to, just by definition. I mean, they're already top of the league. And what I would say is that we need to beat Leicester and we need to beat Leeds in order to go into that game with full confidence. But the fact is, look, we've only been beaten by Liverpool. We've drawn against City, drawn against Man United. We beat Spurs. We beat Chelsea. Like, it's only Arsenal left, and essentially we're absolutely fine with the top 6. So if you're beating the top 6, which is essentially the teams around us, and one of them is going to be the one at the top of the table probably come the time we play them, of course you're going to be contenders. Now, do we want to admit that? Probably not. And I'm pretty sure Eddie Howe will make absolutely certain that his players don't think that as well, because that will then bring in some issues with mentality, and you want to keep them constantly battling, constantly fighting. You don't want them to start thinking they're bigger than they are, or that they've won something before they have. But I don't see how you can say that we're not contenders if we've only been beaten by Liverpool out the top 6, haven't beaten Spurs, Chelsea, and let's say Arsenal, and drawn against the other 2. I mean, you have to be considered. Have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a tough
well,
one.
will depend on other results, I reckon. Yeah. All right, we'll move on to our next one from friend of the pod, current watch along personality. I think that's the right word. Dex. Dex has
Definitely.
said, "Can you come up with the best?" Yeah, Jack's twin. Can you come up with the best 11 of Newcastle players to play at the World Cup? So I know, Craig, you've been busy with your Black Fridays at work and stuff like that, so you haven't had much time to do it, Lee. I know you've been eating fish and chips and drinking and spilling your drinks and clean them up, so you haven't had much time to wrangle anything together. So I thought I'll take one for the team. I'll bend over and take one for the team today. So I've done a bit of research, and this is what I come up with. So I'll just chuck it up on the screen now for our listener, watchers, sorry, and then I'll read it out for our listeners. So originally I was going to go for players who have been at Newcastle and gone to a World Cup, like a current Newcastle player, and then it was really, really hard, and I didn't think I was going to have enough to fill a team, or if I did, it was going to be really, really shit. So I just changed it to players who have played at Newcastle and gone to a World Cup. So I'll start off with Shay Given in goal. Right back, I've got Kieran Trippier, Colaccini, Shah, and big Daryl Yanmatch at left back. It was really hard. There was very, very few left backs that have played at Newcastle and gone to play at a World Cup. So Yanmatch was probably he was probably the best of the bad bunch. He hasn't gone to a World Cup, so
there's not. Oh, that's right. It was a shite.
Yeah, so that sort of ruled that out. I had more of a Rob Lee in a central midfield role, and then a sort of attacking midfield three of Kieran Dyer, Paul Gascoigne, and Jonas Gutierrez, and that left Peter Beardsley and Alan Shearer up front. I was going to put Wilson on just to razz you up, Lee, but I thought I'd better not because I can't be bothered.
I cannot believe you've got Jonas Gutierrez in though.
Well,
he was shit for us. Never mind the World Cup.
Well, it was the same as the left back. There was very, very few left-sided wingers that had actually
played for left back.
Well, that's right back. Same thing.
No, it's the same thing, is it? Right. Yeah, Jonas. No, I don't know about that. Like, maybe it's Chrissy Waddle or someone like that.
Nah. I was going to put the French flyer Florian Thauvin in because he played for both, but
it's getting worse.
He was an all right player when he wasn't at Newcastle. He actually got better when he left. So, so there you go, Dex. That is the list, and it was bloody hard, and it was very slim pickings apart from probably 3 or 4 players, or probably 5 players.
Would get in there.
He never played at the World Cup though. So
did he not? Jeez, no. He was shit, wasn't he? Fucking sick note.
Yeah. So I found a website that actually you could find any player and it'd come up who played at a World Cup. So, and how many appearances they made. So Bruno didn't make the squad because he actually hasn't played at a World Cup yet. So he was ineligible as well. I would have loved to have put him in and made him captain probably as well because I'm in love with him. But unfortunately he couldn't make the cut. So if anyone thinks they can whip up a better team than that, more than happy, chuck it on our Twitter page and we'll post it and we'll debate it and stuff like that. Now we've got a couple off Twitter. This is from Falcos 2012. What is the origin story of the Toon Under podcast YouTube channel, Lee? I think you've got it pretty much nailed down, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Well, look, we were all together in the theater watching some play, or I forget what it was now, and we went out to the back streets with our parents just to head to our Rolls Royce, and this guy came along and tried to steal our mum's pearls. No, wait, that's Batman. Well, basically, we were just fucking thoroughly depressed with Newcastle, weren't we? And busy talking to each other. We sort of just coalesced at some point online and just started like whinging about Newcastle, and then the takeover happened, and we were like, holy shit! And so we started talking a bit more, and then someone had a bright idea. I'm not even sure who it was. Might have been Jack, might have been someone else.
Bobby,
decided that was it. Bobby, was it? All right. Well, Bobby, let's say, decided that we should have a little group on WhatsApp to talk about Newcastle and kind of get excited amongst ourselves. And then either Bobby or someone else said, why don't we do a podcast? Because, we're so brilliant that everyone would like to hear our thoughts. And we were all like, yeah, well, that sounds like a good idea. Huh? Well, who's gonna argue against that pearl of wisdom? And then Keegs came along. We did a January signing. I think was it January that you joined us, Keegs? I can't remember now. Anyway, it was
no summer.
Oh, it was close season signing. There you go. So we're on top of our list. Made a signing, so brought him in, stuck him on the subs bench to start with. But yeah, you're doing all right nowadays. And that's it. Really, we just kept on going. There's so much excitement and joy around Newcastle, man. That all of us who are on this podcast, we've been under the cosh for so long, man. We've been so annoyed with how everything's been going. It's been getting gradually worse, and then suddenly the lid comes off the pressure cooker, and suddenly it's like this other world, as we've just talked about at the top of this podcast. Different scenario altogether, and we just kept on going until someone tells us to stop. Like the law, or maybe Musk will have us banned or something on Twitter, and that'll really stuff us up. We'll just keep on going, and hopefully we'll get better.
we can't get much worse, surely. Surely we can't. Look, we've got just over 12 months. Oh, you guys have been going for just over 12 months anyway, and Craig still forgets to turn his mic on at the start of the live podcast. So, yeah, the only way is up, really. We'll move on to our next one. NUFC fan 1892 on Twitter as well. Should we be worried if the FA come calling for Howe if England fail to win the World Cup? Craig, should we be worried?
No, absolutely not. I think Howe has already said in post or pre-match interviews that the England job isn't for him. He wants a more full-time role. Not something he's looked at now, but who knows what the future holds. I don't think he'll be a long-term manager for Newcastle, i.e. 8 to 10 years, that type of long-term. So maybe the England job sometime after he's been with us, but not during. I think he's with us for the foreseeable. And yeah, I think the FA can go get fucked if they think they can come and knock on our door and take Eddie from us. They can get lost. He's ours and he's not going anywhere.
Get off the
Craig,
fence.
that's a bit ripe. That's a bit ripe for a Sunday morning for our UK fans, just dropping a big F-bomb in there.
I'm just telling the truth,
Unreal.
A bit ripe.
No wonder you're wearing that lipstick.
So sorry for the kids who are listening. Uncle Craig's just gone a bit ripe on a Sunday night here in Australia.
Yeah, bit of blue for the dads.
We've just got a question here on the live chat from Al.
Can I answer this question? Yeah. Can I answer this one before you move on?
Oh yes, absolutely.
If you don't mind, I'd like to take a shot at this one. Thank you. Yeah. We should be worried. Yes, I mean we should always be worried if someone else comes in, even if it's someone that we think's below us. We should always be concerned that there's a chance that his head might be turned. Is it realistic that his head will be turned right now? Not really, not at all. As Craig said, he's came out and he's said as much, but you wouldn't really expect him to answer that question any other way, though, would you? You wouldn't expect him to say, "Oh, hi." I mean, he's not Sam Allardyce. He's not going, "Oh, I wouldn't mind that happening." Like England, if you wouldn't mind coming to say hello to me and give us your job, that would be great. Like he's not going to do that on a Sky broadcast after a victory. He's going to be like, no. But I actually genuinely don't think he would leave this particular project right now. It's in its infancy. He's the bellwether. He's the one who's really, he's really tying everything together. He's like a rug in the room. He's really sort of tying that room together. Bit of Lebowski reference there. He's the captain of the ship. I'm trying to think of any more metaphors I've got in my mind. He's the mouse under the hat, pulling the mustache and the hair to make yourself a wonderful pasta. Oh, that was shit, that one. Anyway, no, look, there's little chance that he'll go anytime soon. But football is one of those things where, as good as things are right now, at some point it will turn. And it could turn very, very quickly. I mean, for all we know, it could go to dog shit straight after the World Cup. People's heads might have dropped because the country didn't do so well. Might come back in the wrong frame of mind. There's only so much you can do with people sometimes. The results could go absolutely shit. I'm saying this for Dix because that's probably what he's thinking. And come the end of the season, we've lost all momentum. We've dropped out of the top 10. All that talk of being fixtures in the top 4, 6 has gone out the window. And once the fans start barking and you get all the kind of negative press, who knows? Who knows if the FA chose to come in at that point and say, look, sack this off, mate. Come to the FA where it's cushy number and you only have to work 4 days a week, or 4 days a year, rather, I should say, and get paid the same amount of money. Why not? So right now, no, but I think at some point it's going to be a reality that we do have to be worried about this sort of thing. And if it's not the FA, it might be another big team.
Well, will be the biggest.
If Potter can go to Chelsea, then you have to think that another team of that sort of stature, in potentially the same sort of dire situation, could turn to someone like Howe and say, look, you did a great job at Newcastle with all that money. Why don't you come over here and have a shot? Maybe Arsenal. I don't know.
Yeah, I think at this stage, I don't think we should be worried at all. I think if he wasn't in a job, I think it might be something that would appeal to him. But at the moment, like, it's the same with not every player, but every staff member. Like, why would you leave? Like, there is absolutely no reason to leave. Like, you're going to have everything you could ever dream of at Newcastle United for the next foreseeable future anyway. Like, the only people I could see who would want to leave are players who aren't playing, pretty much, and they want to. Although the place might be great and the money might be great, they just want to actually play and get on the pitch and play the sport they love and what they're good at. So, I don't think anyone would want to leave if they had a choice at the moment.
What is absolutely mental as well, this time last year, Howard maybe managed, 2-3 games, and everyone was all saying he's going to get Newcastle relegated. He's not good enough for a Premiership squad. He's a relegation specialist because he got Bournemouth relegated. And now there's talks of him becoming England manager. The difference a year can make for anybody in this game is absolutely unreal. Those who doubted him at the beginning need to give their heads a bit of a wobble, because he is one of the best English managers, if not the best English manager, that is around and has been for some time now.
Yeah. So, I don't.
There's no reason to think he was going to be good. He'd been out the game for a year. He hadn't. Yeah, he had taken Bournemouth down. I mean, everyone says that, but they obviously largely ignore the fact he took them all the way up from like doldrums of anywhere to the Premier League in the first place and kept them up there for so long. But people have short memories. Nobody was calling for Eddie Howe by and large to take the Newcastle job. I mean, I did. I've got a tweet. I've got a tweet from 2020 saying like we need to get him in. Although that was admittedly because I was so sick to the back teeth of Steve fucking Bruce, but I did want Eddie Howe in because I could see him going to somewhere like a West Ham and doing really well. And I thought, at that point we were kind of at the same sort of level of West Ham. I'd say we're sort of fractionally above him right now, but I could see the potential for him back then, and I didn't want to see him anywhere else. But the fact is, though, man, people's memories are short. People will turn as soon as the results turn. Guarantee it. So, don't rest on your laurels with this guy. Like, enjoy it while you can. Enjoy the renaissance.
Enjoy the good times, because we've put up with enough bad ones to last a lifetime. We've just got one in the comments. We've just got one in the comments here as well from L. Stapleton regarding the big Garansky. He just wants to know what are the requirements for the visa work permit. The visa work permit.
Visa?
Yeah. Sorry, it's a sensible question. Yeah, well, if you're going to keep sending sensible questions, we might have to ban you from the channel. Anyway, but for the work permit, the short answer is it's complicated. There's all these new tables and formats that they've made up, I think, since Brexit come in regarding players coming in from overseas. Like, a lot of the big name ones are fine because of where they are, but for someone like Garang and his age and his appearances and stuff like that, things start getting a little bit more tricky. I think he's featured in nearly not every Central Coast game this year because he had a bit of time with the under 20s. I think the Australian under 20s for maybe an Asian Cup qualifiers or something like that. So he did miss a couple of games during the season, but apart from that, he's played every game, and I definitely know that playing for the national team against New Zealand for I think it was like a World Cup send-off, I guess, that definitely helped getting picked for the World Cup and playing in the World Cup. That definitely helped as well. So I still think the plan is for him to be loaned out somewhere in Europe in January. I don't think that's changed and stuff like that. But I definitely think his work permit's going to be a lot easier than what it might have been 6 months ago, I guess. So, like, I'm not exactly sure of how the whole tables and the system and the format and how it works, but I do know that it will be granted, I guess is the right word. But we've just got to wait and see when that happens. But I think they've already got plans in place for him in January to they might bring him in for a couple of weeks just to get a look at him firsthand and then ship him off somewhere before the end of the month.
I mean, it's not going to hurt his
if
chances.
Australia
at all
let
in the
me
World Cup,
in,
is it?
you can let him in.
That's a
It's not going
trade.
to hurt his chances. It's not going to hurt his chances at all playing in the World Cup, is it? It's going to obviously improve his prospect of getting a visa. Here's the question, though: if he can get in with a work permit, do you think we'd be looking at bringing him in as a first team squad, let's say, or would he still be part of the development team, maybe initially, perhaps? How do you? Let's assume that he can get in without a work permit, and this whole technicality of sending him off to Portugal as a workaround didn't have to be the thing, right? So let's just say that, because he's been at the World Cup, they go, right, fair enough. Look, you're obviously an international. That's good enough. Ticking a box. How are you in? What do you reckon Newcastle will be looking at him, and what would you think they'd be doing with him initially? Do you think we'd start him in the squad?
No. I still think he's so raw. Like his potentials. We spoke with Craig earlier when all this was sort of breaking and developing. Craig Carley, who was his coach here in Victoria before he moved. Shepparton guy. That's a great listen to. If anyone hasn't listened or watched that, I'd really encourage you to give it a listen because he's really, really good and gives some great insights into Garang and him as a player and as a person, family man, and all that's really, really good. But he's just so raw, but he can be anything. So I think he will get loaned out. Like maybe if he gets a work permit, they might loan him out to an English club just to sort of get acclimatized to the country and stuff like that. So he's not sort of flying in and then flying out to another country that doesn't sort of work for it. Not work for him, but I imagine it'd be pretty hard for a young Australian kid to go loaned out to maybe a country like Portugal where English isn't the first language and he's just trying to find himself as a person and as a professional player overseas as well. I think it'd be better if he actually I think the ideal situation is he either gets loaned out to a championship club or a League One club, stays in the country and can develop and sort of get his bearings. And then maybe for a couple of weeks, like I said, a couple of weeks in January, the club can get a look at him, sort of give him a bit of an assessment of training and see where he sort of fits in amongst all the other players and stuff like that, and then bring him back in the summer and give him a full pre-season and then see where things land. It'd be good
to see him in the Championship or the League One, do like an Elliot Anderson sort of approach, and
exactly, that's the sort of thing I was thinking of.
Because it's a different game down there. It's very physical. It's very rough. There's a lot of kickers down there, a lot of farmers. With all due respect, but it's a different kind of game, and that would kind of make him as a man, perhaps. But they haven't said about the English thing, mate. He's Australian. He can barely speak the language as it is. So
he's good. Big deal. No, he's good. I watched the A-League
it was a joke,
documentary.
It was a joke. Craig got it. You didn't get it.
No, he's Australian better than yours, Keegan, man. How?
It's a low bar. Not really. It's not
in the trenches. Trenches.
It's not a good achievement saying you can speak better than me. God. But we'll just take a couple more before we jog off. Big Malk. Debut. It's actually funny in just on debut made me think of a funny story. When we go over on holidays and we stay in Ashington, they've got a bar called the Premier Bar, but I called it the Premier because that's how we say. Like
Premier.
If you win the grand final, they're like, oh, where are you going? Oh, we're going to go down to the Premier for a couple, and they're like, the what? We're like,
really?
Oh, the Premier, yeah, and they're like, no, the Premier.
Well, that's how I was scared. Premier. Oh, they stick a bit of French on it, do they? Premier.
Premier, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Bunch of bloody farmers, a lot of them.
No, this
wizard
was
nonsense.
This was in Ashington, not here.
Yeah,
I shouldn't
So,
speak
anyway,
the language there.
They're not farmers in Ashington. They're hard-working coal miners.
So
Anyway.
dirge and herb nibs up that way.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll take a couple more if you're watching. Flick a question through. We've got one from Malk Thompson here. Where will we finish?
Oh God,
Craig, keep it. Well, I don't need.
Let go first on this one. I reckon.
I don't need it. I don't need an explanation. I don't need a blow-by-blow wins and losses. I need a number.
Fifth.
All right.
Aye.
I'll go.
I mean, Lee. See, I told you I can't speak.
Cheeky bastard. Cheeky. I'm here to raise up the handsome quarter, and you fucking call me Craig, you cheeky bastard.
Dye your hair.
I would go. No, I would go probably first.
Yes.
Fuck it.
Right.
First.
Why not?
You didn't want an explanation? There you go. First. Stick up your pipe.
Aim for the stars, land on a cloud. That's it. That's what should be here.
What's your guess?
All right. Me, I'll go fifth.
That's what Craig said.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Copycat.
Fuck.
I didn't want to dye my hair, so I just agreed with Craig.
Unbelievable. Call me Craig.
You know what? Dimmy always finds out what everybody else is doing in terms of the predictions and then just randomly copies somebody else and claims he gets it right. He's always the last to give his prediction whenever we do these things on a weekend. And he always seems to do the same as everybody else. And I think you're taking the leaf out of his book there, mate. Come up with your own original idea for a change.
I'm glad you're all starting to see the bullshit that comes out of Dimmy's mouth. Like, I'm glad I'm the flag bearer on this one. Like, and he won't have it. And he's done his spreadsheets, which just basically got him into shit. Oh, look, here he is. Dimmy, you're fucking full of shit, mate. If you're any good as you thought you were, mate, you would have seen this coming. Yeah. So no, he's full of shit, man. Honestly, I reckon first. Stuff it. Fix. All right, not bad.
Yeah, I've actually realised everyone's in our sort of group. We've commented how Bobby's had the best strike rate this year, and I've pretty much copied Bobby on every prediction, so I should get some credit as well.
Well, Bobby just covered
Marcus
Jack.
Third. Oh, we're on a train, are we? Yeah, okay, sweet. Yep, that's all good.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a freaking human centipede thing.
Yeah. There you go, Nostradimmy. Rico's got you. Yeah. He's got your back, Dimmy. Yeah. Dimmy's got fans. Marcus always shouting out Dimmy.
Marcus,
all right, is that you?
If you send Dimmy a DM on Twitter, you'll send your a signed nude photo of him in the post. He's done that for a few people right now. Just tell him what pose you want.
Hey, it does a gym, man. That's a solid. That's a solid picture.
Yeah. And send him your tax file number and he'll sort you out as well. Anyway, anyone got anything else before we wrap this one up?
No, just
still 0-0 Japan.
England won't win the World Cup.
No,
my prediction is Argentina. I've said that since the beginning. I know they've been playing dog shit so far, but I think they'll step it up if they get through the group stage. And I think it'll just be poetic justice. Messi winning the World Cup on his 1000th career game, rubbing it into Ronaldo, who is just a shadow of the former player he once is. And it'll just make Messi the GOAT by far. No one will get close when he wins the World Cup. And the decision between who is the best between Messi and Ronaldo will be laid to bed, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, Craig, I don't think it's good to rag on Ronaldo because he'll be with us in January, so it's not good to.
Love that.
It's not good to rag on our future players, mate. So just be careful with what you say. Lee, you got anything?
Nah, look, I don't give a shit about those two. To be honest with you, couldn't give a shit about those two. Predictions for the rest of the World Cup. I think probably. I think Brazil are going to win it. I do hope that our players do not play too much. I haven't said that, mind you. Maybe France. Brazil weren't all that convincing. And France only played Australia, but yeah, I don't know. I think probably one between France or Brazil. Probably Argentina looked absolutely terrible, so I don't have any confidence that they'll do too well. And I'm not going to lose any sleep over it if they don't. Couldn't give a shit about Argentina. That cheating dwarf that robbed us of that 1984. I can't remember if it was a final, semi-final. I think it was a semi-final. You can burn in hell, little shitbag. Fucking Madonna, piss off. These shit bras, fucking rubbish. So I think Brazil or France will win it. England will probably go out in the quarters, and then hopefully they can all the guys can go back, apart from perhaps Bruno, and get ready for the second half of the season. We have to hit the ground running. We need to beat Bournemouth. I know that's a League Cup game, but we can't lose that game and then change our mentality going into League Cups. We need into League games. We have to keep this winning mentality going at all costs across all competitions. And I think if we can do that into the Arsenal game, we'll have a really, really good chance, just through belief as much as anything else, that we can take them on. And if we do that, we are definitely in the mix for winning the league, which is fucking mental when you're absolutely mental when I'm sitting here listening to myself saying something and you're on drugs. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. But you can't deny it. If we beat Arsenal top of the table and we haven't been beaten by anybody apart from Liverpool and the referee, then what else are you what it was to class us as? Yes, it comes early. Yes, it would be better if it was when we were stronger and had a deeper squad depth. But look, if it happens, it bloody happens, and we are on the right tracks right now.
All right, we'll definitely. I think we'll dive in. Yeah, we'll dive into the squad situation. I think next week there's a few things that we could really talk about. That I think need to be talked about going forward. But for what it's worth, I think the Socceroos are going to win the whole thing. We're going to walk the table and bring it home. So that'd be great. We'll have a parade down in Fed Square again, where if you're on Twitter, definitely have a look at the scenes in Fed Square last night when we turned over the mighty Tunisia as well. So yeah, I think we'll walk the table and it'll come home where it rightly belongs. So yeah, that's just about it. Just one more shout out. Like I said, guys, if you're looking to any financial stuff, hit up Dimmy at Belmont Accountants.
Don't believe the numbers. Don't believe the numbers. I've seen his spreadsheets. They're full of shit. Full of shit. Don't believe it.
So, gone straight to jail.
There you go. If you need your numbers to be full of shit and fudged, he's definitely the bloke to go and see. So definitely Google Belmont Accountants, and Dimmy will look after all your money. And even if it's not right, he'll make it right. And when it comes to money, I don't think you could ask for any more than that. So I think we'll end it there, guys. So thanks. Thanks for joining us. It's been good. We'll be back, I guess, next week. Like I said, we might touch on the squad in January and what we think we need to do going forward, and whether we'll let it rip in January or we'll just sort of keep sort of sweet with where we are and just sort of build on that. So yeah, that's about it. Craig, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Lee, thank you for your time.
Well,
hopefully,
cheers, Keegs.
Yeah,
I forgot my name was Craig.
Craig version 2. Thanks for that. Hope your beer hasn't stained and wrecked your chargers, and you're watching all your other electronics. Hopefully that hasn't wrecked them lights on the bridge behind you as well, mate. So all right. Thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone in the comments.
Cheers, lads.